The first tool we're going to be taking a look at is Midas, which is the namesake for the whole interface as well as the principle for most of the tools. So it's really important to understand Midas before you kind of understand the other stuff, and it also works with all the other tools. So the first thing we're going to do is click Midas and see what we get, and we're going to get a prerequisite screen that says no composition because I don't have an active composition. So I will select a composition, and you're going to see that it now says invalid property. The prerequisite screen kind of alerts you what you need to do in order to proceed to the next step. So this screen works as like once you do one of the ones, you continue to the next step, but you keep the one before. So you would want to keep an active composition and have a property selected, if that makes sense. So this screen, once you have open, you can move your mouse off the panel and close it at any time if you didn't want to run it. But if you do want to run it, it's really easy to set up. So the whole Midas system basically works in parent to child relationships, but it's not like pick whipping. It's all relative changes through expressions that are really, really powerful, and you have access to a ton of modules like scatter, magnetism, soft force, just craziness. We'll get into that in a little bit, but there's a lot to kind of understand and go through, but we're going to kind of keep it basic for this first example. So let's go and set up this parent to child relationship. It works with any kind of property, so this can be effects, it can be third-party plugins, it can be stuff like Element 3D, it can be other like rubber hose tools, any kind of property you can imagine Midas works with. It's not necessarily a tool so much as it's like a new way to design how you animate, so it's a lot of fun. So we're going to have a parent layer selected, shape layer 1, and we're going to press P, R, and S on our keyboard to select a couple properties. So this is going to be our parent layer, so we'll select that, and then we want to select some other layers as children. In this case, I'm going to hold shift and select some children layers, and we're going to click Midas. Now, instead of getting a prerequisite screen, we're getting what we call a tool submenu screen. In this screen, each of the tools is going to have some different options to shape how the tool actually works and runs. So for this screen, we have a key, a comp, a shy, and a guide option. The key option is going to create keyframes onto the selected parent layer's properties, which just kind of saves you a step, and it's kind of nice to quickly be able to press U to see the keyframes that have been created and find the properties that you're trying to work with. There's a comp option, which can put your children or your parent and children into a composition and keep things really organized and nice for you. A shy option to shy the layers or compositions, and a guide option to duplicate the parent as a kind of guide so you can still animate the parent. So this is all going to sound crazy until you start working with it. So it's really important to kind of explore Midas and learn about the tool as you go. So we're going to set a couple options here. We're going to do a keyframe, and we're going to do a shy, and I'm going to click Midas. So with those two options done, you're going to see that our children layers seem to have disappeared, but they're actually auto shied, and we have keyframes created on our master layer, and we have effect controls on both our master layer or parent layer and also our children layer. So we're going to dive into this kind of slow in this example, but hopefully we're going to have some fun. So we're going to turn back on the shy guy and start working with some keyframes. And the whole principle of Midas is that your parent can affect your children, both delayed and offset, and then the values can be like increased or decreased in tons of different manners. So if we were to do a quick little animation, instead of having to keyframe every single layer, you can keyframe parents and set up this relationship for a cool staggered animation. So we're going to set the scale down to 0 on the height, and you're going to see the children seem to disappear too. We'll preview this on our keyboard, and you're going to see that we now have a little animation happening. So if I add some easing to this just so we can have a little bit more to work with, you're going to see that this stagger is kind of incremented through the layers. So if I went to this parent option, which kind of works as a global control for all the other effect controls on the layer, and enable this, you're going to see that my effect controls all turn down to 0, and this means that the children are having a like an exact relationship to the parent's keyframes. So this could be nice if you needed to fade out a lot of objects at once or animate things all together. But yeah, there's a lot more to this than just staggered and delay.